This is Bedtime Stories, Grown-Up Edition, The Truth, Part 8. When we left off, True had seen that video footage from the hotel in upstate New York. While she hadn't seen what happened inside Big Wood's hotel room or Amira's, she knew for a fact that Amira had spent the night in Big Wood's room. They'd spent the entire morning between his room and Amira's. And Big Wood didn't look too happy about it. True was interested in hearing his version of the story, but she decided that she needed a clear head when she confronted him, and she needed to get out of Puerto Rico. Meanwhile, Stephanie was ecstatic to see Corey and baby Kari. Corey was dropping baby Kari off to her and spending a few days in Puerto Rico himself. He was there for a church convention. Stephanie was 9 weeks pregnant, and this pregnancy had been very emotional for her. She'd spent the last 3 weeks trying to figure out what she was going to do. Was she going to stay in Puerto Rico and be involved in the action? Or was she going to go back to Trinidad with the Queen Mother and play the background? She decided that she'd tell Corey that she was pregnant, and they'd decide together. So when Corey drops off baby Kari, he's in a hurry. He needs to get to the church for the convention, but he promises that he'll be back as soon as the day ends. Meanwhile, True is all packed and ready to go. She stops to meet with Manny briefly. When Manny asks if she got the information she needed, True said, "I did, and now I need to go." Manny said, "Are you heading back to Miami?" Or True said, "I want to go to Trinidad. I need to run my plan by the Queen Mother." Then she ran her plan to wrap up her assignment down to Manny, and he said, "That sounds good. While you're in Trinidad, you may want to share your secret with Bella." True said, "I don't plan to share my secret with anyone until I share it with Wood, and I'm not going to do that until he shares his secret with me." Manny said, "True, I don't know that that's a good idea." True said, "You don't have to agree, but you do need to agree to keep my secret. If you don't, I'm out of here, and I'm never coming back, and I know how to get low. So not only will you not know where I am, but neither will Wood. Now, if you want me to handle this assignment and remain in my role, you're going to have to let me handle my personal life my way. I understand that you're checking for Wood, but if you're responsible for me, be responsible for me." Manny said, "I have a hard time with the idea of keeping a man separate from his children, even his unborn children. I try to put myself in other people's shoes, True. It helps keep me honest." True said, "Fine. Put yourself in your daughter's shoes. If your daughter was pregnant by a man that she loved, and that man had a secret that he wasn't volunteering, and she told you that she wasn't willing to tell him her secret until he told her his, would you insist that she tell him?" After a brief pause, Manny said, "I wouldn't." True said, "What would you do?" Manny said, "I would suggest that he be honest with her." True said, "And if he didn't take your advice?" Manny said, "I'd support her. Be safe, True." And True walked out. At that same time, Big Wood was knocking on the door of True's villa. When the door opened, on the other side was the housekeeper. She told Big Wood that True had already left the island, and Big Wood was confused and concerned. He headed back to the main house, barely missed True, hopping in a chauffeur car and heading to the airstrip. When he found Manny, he asked, "What's going on?" "I went to True's villa, and the housekeeper said she already left the island. She left without saying goodbye. When I saw her earlier, she was talking to Angela, and they both looked like they was up to something. She walked out the side door fast as hell, like she was avoiding me." Manny said, "That's 'cause she is. I told you, if you're hiding something from her, she already knows, Wood." Wood said, "Then I need to get to the airstrip." Manny said, "Let her cool off and let her work. She'll have her assignment wrapped up soon enough, and you'll have an opportunity to talk to her." Wood said, "But I need to know." Manny said, "Wood, focus on your job. I will make sure that you have an opportunity to talk with her. You just need to be ready." When Wood turned his back, Manny said, "Turn around." Wood turned around, pissed. Manny said, "This is not a game. You're not just playing with your life. You're playing with my business. You're playing with the heart of a woman who's endeared herself to this family. But more important than any of that, you are playing with your future, young man. This isn't the kind of woman who's going to eat whatever you serve her. She's coming to the table full, and whatever you providing is extra. She can eat, but she ain't starving. You handling this situation like she needs you. She don't need you, and you don't want to be with a woman who needs you. You think you do. You like being needed. You asked this woman to marry you, and she wants to be your partner. Well, partners don't lie to each other, Wood. They don't withhold information that can change one another's lives. Now, I promised her that I would stay out of it. And I agreed to give you the advice that I would give to a man engaged to my own daughter. I am not going to advise you again about the same thing. Take this time and figure out how you want to show up. Do you want to show up as a liar and lose your woman? Or do you want to show up as an honest man and give your woman a chance to choose forgiveness and a future? I can only think of one thing that you could have possibly done that you having such a hard time being honest about. You're going to have to decide whether that other woman is worth it. Wood said, don't no other woman compare to True. Ain't no other woman in her league. Don't no other woman matter. Manny said, then tell her that. But right now, give her space. Let her do her job. She needs to focus. It's a lot on the line. Do not leave this island. You're done working with Sincere, Saint, and Amir for now. When True gets to Trinidad, the Queen Mother is waiting for her. Manny has already called her. They've agreed that Wood is going to remain in Puerto Rico, working with Q and Lorenzo on that international trafficking organization case. And the Queen Mother is going to give True whatever she needs to wrap up that situation with Amir. But in the meantime, she's going to keep True busy. The Queen Mother doesn't know why, but Manny made it clear that True needs time to think, and she needs to be as far away from Amir and Big Wood as possible. So when True tells the Queen Mother about her plans for how she's going to get the information that she needs out of Amir and then dispose of him, the Queen Mother says, that's a good idea. I'm going to call Renni and get her on it. Manny and I will keep Amir and Wood away from one another. And I have a few things that I need you to handle here in Trinidad, since I have Salema sidelined. Hugh is working on something, and depending on how that develops and how long it takes Renni to have something worked out, you should expect to be back in Miami in 3 weeks. When the plans were set, the Queen Mother asked True, now tell me, why did you show up here? And in a thick Trinidadian accent, she said, looking like dry up curtain, hardship and struggle. True said, what? The Queen Mother said, why are you looking like a dried up curtain, hardship and struggle? True just fell out laughing. She said, have you ever had a man play with your intelligence and your emotions all at the same time? The Queen Mother said, oh, that'll do it. Yeah, you get that back in paper and blood. But don't let him see you sweat, darling. Then True went to find Salema. They ate and talked, and True told Salema everything that transpired in Puerto Rico. When she told Salema about the video, Salema said, girl, I knew it. Don't even worry yourself, because I got something for that. I done already set up the little housewarming. It's going down in like 4 weeks. True said, that's perfect, because I should have this assignment wrapped up in 3. Now, hold on to your seat, girl. I'm pregnant. Salema said, oh my God. Did you tell Manny? True said, I did. Salema said, you told Wood? True said, hell no. I'm not telling him a damn thing until he comes clean. Salema said, what if he doesn't come clean before the housewarming? True said, oh, then it's going to be a damn show. A fireworks show. I'm going to turn your damn house inside out and upside down with Wood and a mirror in it. All I need is for you to not let Wise stop me. Salema said, I got you. But what you gonna do about the Queen Mother? Because you know as soon as she finds out, she gonna sit you down. True said, that's fine. I want to sit down. That's why I want to wrap this assignment up as quickly as possible. Unlike you and Stephanie, I have no problem with doing whatever I have to keep my unborn baby out of danger. I don't know what's wrong with you two heifers. Hell, depending on how the situation goes with Big Wood, Stephanie might have to find herself a new right hand. Salema said, what? True said, I'm not about to play with my baby's life. I could very well end up this baby's only parent. Salema said, girl, no, you won't. Big Wood is going to be involved in that child's life whether y'all are together or not. True said, Big Wood might not be alive if he play with me. Do I look like the visitation and child support kind of woman to you? I don't know that I'd ever even want to see his face again. If that man really let me walk into your house and sit down across the table from a woman he done took down while he was with me, I don't care what the circumstances were. If he doesn't come clean, I'm going to ruin his life and Amira's. And then I'm getting love. Salema said, girl, you know the man's going to look for you. And you know he's going to find you. True said, no, he isn't. Because Manny got my back. Salema said, oh, Lord, please let Wood do the right thing. He going to lose his girl and his first child. True said, Salema, you better not tell a soul. Do you hear me? Not Wise, and certainly not Wood. Salema said, now you know I'm a girl's girl. I'm not going to tell nobody nothing. Us girls got to stick together. Besides, I need a favor too. You might be ready to have a baby, but I'm not. Later that evening in Puerto Rico, Angela is besides herself. She shared everything with Mom Brenda. The two have prayed, and Mom Brenda has summoned Manny. When Manny arrived at the villa where Mom Brenda was being put up, she said, "We need to talk, Emmanuel. You got my baby over here extremely upset. She did what you asked, and now she's very concerned. You're gonna have to make this right. Tell him, Angela." Then Angela told Manny about what the headmaster had said to her, about the vision that she's seen of True, about the conversation that she had with the women at her house, about Big Wood and Amira, and about the video that she had Lorenzo pull up. Manny said, "Now that all makes sense. I'd pieced most of that together, and True did tell me that she was pregnant. I got Wood to admit that he had a secret, and he did not correct me when I suggested that secret involved another woman. However, he made it clear, and I believe him, that True is the only woman for him. Angela, you can't worry yourself about this. All you can do is pray for them. You promise not to tell her secret? Don't. While you might feel like I'm interfering, this is a situation best handled without outside interference. Let God handle this. He knows what he's doing. Best thing that we can do right now is keep True and Woody apart. Keep Woody away from Amir. True is going to do what she wants to do, but she's going to have to find her own way, Angela. You can't force her hand on this, no more than I can force Wood's. I have a feeling that there's more to this Wood and Amira story than we even know. But you know that what doesn't come out in the wash comes out in the rinse, right?" Angela said, "Yeah. I'm just worried that Wood's going to run out of time. Amira's going to tell True. I saw it in the vision, and she's going to tell her something else, too. And this whole thing has the potential to cause a rift between all of them. Wood, Wise, Salema, True, Amira, Tough, Q, and Mrs. Ali." Manny said, "And that's not anything that you can fix, Angela. Pray and let God be God." Later on, when Pastor Corey returned to the estate, Stephanie had a romantic dinner set up for him in the villa. Baby Kari was at the main house spending time with Marisol. Stephanie was ready to tell Corey her secret. But first, Corey had to tell her his. As they sat down for dinner, Corey said, "So, the host pastor made an announcement today. He announced his retirement, and then he opened bids for his replacement. The selected pastor would have to take over ownership of the property, commit to remortgage the buildings, and make some needed improvements. I've decided to put in my bid, Stephanie." Stephanie dropped her fork. Her prayer was being answered. Corey said, "I'm submitting my bid with a twist. My submission will include joining this church with the Salvation Center organization. The Holy Spirit led me to have a conversation with the pastor, and when I shared my idea, he was overjoyed. He couldn't make any commitments, but he said that if the numbers were right, he didn't see any reason why I wouldn't be at the head of the pack. My secretary, armor bearer, and my lawyers are already working on the bid. But before I submitted, I wanted to hear what you think." Stephanie said, "Yes, yes, and yes." Corey laughed and said, "Now, if for some reason the bid isn't accepted." Stephanie said, "Oh, it'll be accepted. I'm going to tell my Uncle Manny." Corey said, No. No interference. Let's leave it in God's hands." Before I left Texas, I prayed, and I heard from God. He told me that I have 6 months to relocate from Dallas to Puerto Rico and remarry you. Stephanie almost fell out of her chair. Corey dropped down on one knee and pulled out a ring that was bigger than the one that Stephanie was already wearing, because she had not stopped wearing her previous engagement and wedding ring set. Corey said, "Stephanie Catalina Spencer Taylor, will you do me the honors of being my wife on paper again?" Stephanie said, "Yes, yes, and yes." "Will you do me the honor of being the father of my second child?" Corey said, "What?" Stephanie said, "I'm pregnant. 9 whole weeks." Corey said, "Stephanie, you serious?" Stephanie said, "I am so serious. And I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow to prove it." Corey said, "I got the conference tomorrow." Stephanie said, "Oh, I know. It's after the conference ends for the day." Corey said, "God is something else, ain't it?" Stephanie said, "Ain't it?" Then Corey slipped Stephanie's old rings off and slipped the new, bigger ring on. Got up off his knee, lifted Stephanie up, and kissed her passionately. They didn't even finish their meal. They went straight to the bedroom. 2 weeks later, True has put in significant work in Trinidad. When the Queen Mother comes to her and says, "I need you to go to Dallas. You're going to need to pay Agent Nisha Rushing a visit." Agent Nisha Rushing is Q's partner at the FBI. She is or was a lead agent and was being held at a safe house in Dallas for several months since Melissa's failed abduction. The Queen Mother said, "Q and Wood have been working on that international trafficking case, and they've developed some intel. I need you to go and confront Agent Nisha Rushing about it. And then you need to get Regina back there. As I understand, she owes that heifer a fair one." When True got back to Dallas, Agent Rushing could tell from the look on her face that the jig was up. True said, "So, Jerry Rouse, retired FBI agent, huh? Rushing is your adopted last name, is that right? And Agent Nisha Rushing went white in the face. True said, "You don't look so good. Looks like you need some sun. Put some color in that face." Renzo had done some extensive digging, and for his trouble, he'd found out Jerry Rouse was a Fed when Q and Wood were children. His sister was a drug addict, was selling herself to pay for her habit. She got knocked up by a chum, and her brother put her in treatment, where she delivered a healthy baby girl that she put up for adoption. That adoption was open, and her adoptive parents maintained a relationship between their daughter, Nisha, and her Uncle Jerry. Uncle Jerry was known to be dirty in the criminal underworld. Somehow he managed to retire as a decorated federal agent, and his niece followed in his footsteps, eventually becoming lead agent Nisha Rushing in the Special Victims Unit. When True was done questioning Agent Nisha Rushing, she'd given it all up. True updated the Queen Mother, and then she made that call to Regina. Regina said, "LJ is doing well. Thanks for asking." True said, "That's good to hear. Is it possible that you could make a trip back home? There's someone here who's ready to see you." Regina said, "Oh, girl, don't threaten me with a good time. I got a lot of frustration I need to work out. I'll be there in 3 days." Regina owed Agent Isha Russian a fade. She tried to infiltrate the family, first by cozying up to Q, and then by putting a move on LJ. If you watch Love and War, then you know all about that. The family discovered that she was dirty during the interviews while Melissa was missing, and Regina had knocked her head between the washer and the dryer while she was tied up. Agent Isha Russian was mistakenly under the impression that if she wasn't tied up, she could take Regina. And Regina made Q and True promise that as soon as they were done with Agent Isha Russian, they'd save her, make sure she was fed, well rested, and hydrated, so that there would be no excuse when they shot a fair one. And Regina tapped that behind. A few days later, Regina was landing in Dallas, and Q and Wood were landing in D.C. Q had finally taken that meeting with the Vice President of the United States and his supervisor at the FBI, Fred Acevedo. He gave them something like an ultimatum. In exchange for all of the information that the families had gathered on the international trafficking organization, Nisha Rushing and her uncle, Q would be honorably released from his full-time federal duties. He'd serve as a special agent, continuing to collaborate on sensitive cases through his PI agency. He'd continue to provide the government with technology at a price, and the government would have his back and the families, and look the other way during some of their business dealings. And the vice president didn't hesitate to agree. She said, "We want the head of the International Trafficking Organization. This has been going on for decades. There are hundreds of missing children and vulnerable adults who need to be reunited with their families, who deserve justice. And we also need Agent Rushing." Q said, "You can have her, but you'll have to wait for my sister-in-law to finish with her. She owes her a fair one for coming on to her husband." When the vice president and supervisor Acevedo laughed, Q didn't. Meanwhile, in Texas, Regina just finished saying, "Cut her out of those ropes and leave the room. I got this." True turned to the lieutenants and said, "You heard the woman?" They did as Regina asked, and they all made a beeline for the security cameras. And then they watched as Regina beat the snot out of Agent Nisha Rushing. No amount of training could have prepared that woman for the wrath and pent-up frustration of a woman whose husband was battling cancer for the second time. A woman who'd been abducted and tortured and essayed by men who did things to her that were just as bad as the things that were being done to the victims of that international trafficking organization being run by Nisha Russian's uncle and his cronies. The rage that Regina had because of all of that, added to the fact that that organization attempted to abduct her niece and do God only knew what to her, was all that it took for Regina to put an old-fashioned, down-home, good old country southern, around-the-way homegirl whooping on Agent Nisha Russian's behind. And the whole time Regina was talking like somebody's granny. "Didn't I tell you?" And Agent Nisha Russian was screaming for help. "Help me, somebody, get her off me, oh my God." Agent Nisha Russian had been being treated five family style, and even that didn't compare to the whooping that Regina put on her. Regina didn't stop until Agent Nisha Russian was an unconscious, bloody mess on the floor, and Regina's knuckles were busted, swollen, and bleeding. Regina was crying and snotting, and when True and the lieutenants returned into the room, she said, "Whew, I feel so much better." Then her and True hugged. Regina said, "I'm going to my hotel. I'm going to get cleaned up, soak in that garden tub, order me some room service, give me some good sleep, and head back to Germany with my family tomorrow. True said, okay, well, first let me get a doctor to check out your hands, okay? Regina said, girl, I'm fine. I'm gonna put me some ointment on it and one of my grandma's recipes, wrap that thing up, and I'm good. True just shook her head. Meanwhile, Q and Big Wood coordinate with the FBI, the CIA, and HSA to find Jerry Rouse and the other leaders of the International Trafficking Organization, while True traveled to Massachusetts to connect with Rennie and get that package.